Greenpeace has worked for years on global warming. We've actually helped to write some of the global treaty that right now is in force to help solve the problem. There's a bill that was passed today by Chairman Waxman and Chairman Markey called the American Clean Energy Security Act. Unfortunately, there's no clean energy in it, so it's just the American Security Act. And it doesn't make me feel very secure either. There's new incentives for nuclear energy there. Once the bill is passed, coal will we'll start to see manufacturing of coal plants again. The clean energy provisions actually demand that we have new clean energy, which is less than the government says we'll have anyway. And so unfortunately what's happened is there's been a bill that is a huge subsidy for the coal industry, taking a massive gamble, gambling our future away, hoping that one day there will be such a thing as clean coal, which right now the coal industry says will take at least 20 years to develop. And we've done all of this, and we haven't actually addressed global warming. Unfortunately, the president has gotten behind it, but hasn't put any juice, any political capital into making it good, into making sure that there are clean energy jobs in the bill. So what we have is a shell game where we're giving coal money, where we're opening the doors for nuclear energy companies. One says that they'll make over $1 billion in profit a year from this bill. So we've done that, but we haven't transitioned our economy to clean energy. Okay, so the issue is that President Obama, unfortunately, has spent very little political capital to solve global warming. In fact, there's a quote-unquote clean energy bill right now that he's supporting that doesn't produce new clean energy. In fact, it takes us backwards for clean energy. It will lead to more coal, very likely, and new nuclear power. And so while the president agrees with us that we can revive the economy, we can create new clean energy jobs by solving global warming, unfortunately, he hasn't yet stood up to the coal interests, to the big business interests, and to the polluters that want more money and are fighting like hell to make sure that clean energy never grows up from the cradle. I think the president had it right. I think that change has to come to Washington, and it won't come from Washington. I think corporations and special interests have taken over our government. There have been about 500 mountains that have been destroyed by greedy coal companies that are so desperate for coal, the fossils of dinosaurs, so that they can burn it, that they're willing to blow up mountains now. It shows you that we're at peak coal and that it's the past, it's not the future. If we're willing to despoil our natural environment in order to blow up mountains so we can burn fossils, it's clear that it's time for solar, wind, and other clean energy technologies that are here today. So Greenpeace has worked tirelessly with community groups that are leading the fight on the ground in their homes, whose homes have been destroyed, property values ruined, dreams ruined, and streams despoiled. We've been working hard to help them learn the skills of direct action, how to stand up to these polluters, and to the president, Barack Obama, who has not stepped in to stop this, so that they can continue this fight. Unfortunately, biofuels like ethanol don't cut pollution. They're another big pork project that Congress members and senators give to big agribusiness or other big corporations so that they can continue to make money, even though there's no benefit for you, for me, or for our environment. The biofuels that we want would be cleaner. Unfortunately, what this bill doesn't do is require that any biofuels, whether it's ethanol or anything else, actually in their lifetime reduce pollution. And so what this bill that's supposed to cut pollution has done is given a huge loophole to ethanol and other biofuels and said, don't worry about it. We won't look at how much you pollute. We'll just give you a lot of money and a lot of incentives. Greenpeace is opposed to nuclear energy for multiple reasons. Number one, it's unbelievably expensive. Yet generally to produce a nuclear power plant, it's 200% more expensive than the budget said it would be. Nuclear power is promised as a solution for global warming, but we need to get off of fossil fuels within 10 years, and you've never built a nuclear plant in less than 10 years. There's no solution for the waste. The place where the waste was supposed to be stored was just canceled. We don't know where to put the stuff, and it will be with us for tens of thousands, if not more years. And it's a sitting duck for terrorists. The 9/11 Commission report said that Mohammed Atta, who flew a plane into the Twin Towers, was doing practice flights over a nuclear plant an hour outside of New York City. He wired home to say, let's hit this, and the response he got was, not yet. On my first day as executive director, I got an annoyed text from my assistant saying, "You're late for your first day." She was probably wondering what kind of a signal this was. And the truth was, I'd been hanging from a crane since 4:30 in the morning. I couldn't get to the office. So yeah, on my first day, we needed to send a strong statement that Greenpeace is still going to take stands. Greenpeace will still speak truth to power. Greenpeace will call on the president to really lead and to live up to his vision that we all voted for, or many people did. And Greenpeace will always stand up to the special interests, to the corporate interests, or to the governments that despoil our environment and are stealing our future from us, and say this has to stop and we're here to stop it. It might be that Greenpeace is one of the few last groups during direct action, but the really inspiring thing is that it doesn't take a group to be a movement. And there is a growing movement of people that are not going to allow their future to be ruined by mountaintop removal, by global warming, or by nuclear pollution or nuclear plants in their communities. And while Greenpeace works incredibly hard to support those communities and to continue to do that work, the beauty is that this is bigger than any group, and there's a movement growing that's going to win our future back for us. Greenpeace is one of the few groups that is accountable to people and to science. We take no corporate money, no government money, and so what we can do is just say, here's what the Earth needs, here's what our future needs, here's what we need for our own health. And instead of being accountable to big companies or big donors, we're only accountable to the people that write us a small check and say, I want a planet that's clean for my future. So Greenpeace will be the group that's honest. Greenpeace will be the group that just speaks the truth to power. And Greenpeace is the group that's not afraid to pick a fight sometimes when Goliath needs to be fought. And that's been Greenpeace's role, whether it's when we got in the way of the harpoon that whalers were shooting at the whale, whether it's when we blocked nuclear testing, or whether it's recently when we've even taken on President Obama, who unfortunately has not shown the leadership that we dreamed of and that he promised us when it comes to stopping things like global warming. Greenpeace is running a global campaign both to get international leaders to pressure the president and say, we need your leadership too, President Obama. And we're also working across the country with Congress, with companies, to make sure that people are really taking real leadership. I think there's a real need for an organization in the United States that builds the grassroots movement to help stop the biggest crises, whether it's global warming, nuclear proliferation, nuclear energy, or toxics and how they affect our communities. A lot of Greenpeace's inspiration comes from the civil rights movement and from other movements where people stood up and said, I'm willing to put myself on the line because things have just gone too far in the wrong way and we need to change that. So Greenpeace is committed to peaceful direct action and nonviolent civil disobedience. Whether it was my first day when I climbed a crane and helped hang a banner calling on the president to take a real leadership role on global warming, whether it's in the next few weeks as we do the same thing, or whether it's when we're in the Southern Ocean stopping the whalers. If you're a person who just wants to stand up, then you should join with Greenpeace. Greenpeace was started 38 years ago by a very small group of people who didn't know if they'd live or die, but they just decided to rent a boat and sail into a nuclear blast zone to stop a nuclear bomb. They didn't know if they'd live or die. They'd been trying to stop the Vietnam War and couldn't, and they just decided, let's take on the US military-industrial complex. And let's risk our lives because somebody has to do it and someone has to tell everybody the atrocities that are happening. You don't have to be in that boat with us, but if you want to stand with us or stand up with us to take on the biggest threats in the world, whether it's something like saving the entire continent of Antarctica from mining and drilling, which we did, whether it's stopping nuclear testing, which we did, whether it's ending commercial whaling, which we did, or now whether it's stopping global warming. If you care, if you want to stand up, if you don't want to compromise your future, but you want someone who's principled or a group that's principled and will just say what's right and wrong and will fight for you to win that, you should join Greenpeace.